A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. This is what Isaiah, son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established as the highest mountain and raised above the hills. All nations shall stream toward it. Many people shall come and say, Come, let us climb the Lord's mountain to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may instruct us in his ways, and we may walk in his paths. For from Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and impose terms on many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. One nation shall not raise the sword against another, nor shall they train for war again. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord. The word of the Lord.
In the silence of eternity, before all things were, the Father spoke. He spoke a word, one perfect word in which he has said everything. And that word spoken, generated, conceived, proceeding forth in eternity was and is the eternal Son of God. And the divine word, that logic, the logos, the science, the reason of God is his wisdom. That wisdom has been manifest in creation from the first moment when God spoke again, saying, "Let there be light." And all that was and is created in and through that one word, that eternal wisdom of God. All time and space, from the incalculable distances in our universe to the most minute movements of the human heart, are and come to be and reach their end through the sweet and yet strong direction of God's eternal wisdom. And that wisdom has been manifest to and desired by every culture and civilization since the dawn of time. Every culture and people praises the wise man, the sage who has somehow come to understand and tap into the logic, that order, that purpose which is inscribed in the fabric of creation. Indeed, the Greeks created a whole class of people who were known as lovers of wisdom, philosophers. And the Jews, the chosen people of God, came to see that the wisdom of God was an intimate attribute of the Lord, of Yahweh. And they yearned and desired for a share in his wisdom. They yearned, as our O antiphon will say, that they yearned that they would receive this wisdom, that this wisdom would come to them. They desired so much that instruction would come forth from Jerusalem, as Isaiah's prophecy foretold. They yearned that they would be given a share, an intimate understanding of God's logic, a participation in his wisdom, an understanding of his plan for creation as a whole and for each one of them as individuals. Yes, the Jews yearned for wisdom, because wisdom, as the wise Solomon said, can do all things, and she renews everything while herself perduring, and she passes into holy souls from age to age, producing friends of God and prophets. Yes, the Jews understood that to have wisdom was to become a friend of God. It was to know his intimate secrets, to be near to him. And to share in God's wisdom was in a real sense to share in his very life. And so the Jews, like all people before them, had this great yearning and a desire for wisdom, that it would come forth, that it would come near. And the extraordinary thing is that in the fullness of time, in the darkness now not of eternity, but of a Palestinian night, in the room of a humble handmaid in Israel, the Word of God, that eternal speech of the Father, proceeded forth yet again, and was conceived for a second time in the Virgin's womb. And the Son of God, taking on human flesh, became the Son of Mary. Eternal, everlasting wisdom became wisdom incarnate. And in his flesh, in his words and his deeds, Jesus of Nazareth, the Son of Mary, has become our wisdom. He, the child silently resting in Mary's arm. He, the boy lost in the temple. He, the carpenter from Nazareth. He, the itinerant preacher. He, the miracle worker. He, the condemned, the crucified, and indeed the resurrected one, is our wisdom. Jesus embodies the eternal wisdom of God. And in every mystery of his life, in every moment of his life, he is instructing us. He's instructing you and he's instructing me. He's teaching us what it means to be human. He's teaching us what it means to love. He's showing us how to find the life we desire. And if we want to find wisdom, if we want to find that secret which unlocks the mystery of the universe, the mystery of our lives, if we want to understand the purposes of each and every one of us, the reason why we were created, if we want to find the life that our hearts so desperately desire, we can look nowhere else but the face of Jesus Christ, and to gaze upon him, to love him, to study his life and his teachings, to live in his church, and to meet him in his sacraments is the only way to true wisdom, the only way to true life. He is our wisdom. He is our knowledge. He is our master, our magister, who teaches us not just through an exterior example and words like any other human teacher, but no, he's interior. He's inside, and he comes to us and he imparts to us his wisdom. He makes us his friends. He gives us his Spirit's gifts, the greatest of which is wisdom. He infuses in our souls and our hearts his virtues, charity and prudence, so that we can come to know and find and follow the way to wisdom, which is nothing else than the way to truth, the way to goodness, the way to beauty, and indeed the way to life. This holy season of Advent is a time to stir up in our hearts a desire for that wisdom, for that longed-for wisdom of the nations, that wisdom which every people in every age have sought and continue to seek out. Because it's only in finding that wisdom that we can make sense of life, of death, of the world, of the universe, and of ourselves. And this Advent, it's an invitation to contemplate with Mary, her little child, that little baby resting so silently in her arms, who hides within himself that wisdom which reaches from end to end mightily, and which governs all things strongly and yet tenderly. And this Advent, as we do that with Mary, we're invited and we're made able to become with Mary a true seat of wisdom, a font, a source of wisdom which can enlighten and instruct and inspire our world with the wisdom which it needs most.